instead of being like every other metal YouTuber out there today, I'm not going to make a video about my metal hot takes. In fact, I'm going to make a video about my odd takes. What I would define as my odd takes are not exactly hot takes, more like lukewarm takes that I feel like some people would easily agree with me on, but I feel like they're more personalized to me. So let me share some odd takes, and I'm going to blow this candle out. Let's do this. Alright, this first take is going to be something that everyone's either going to love or hate me for. If someone came to me and told me, how do I write a death metal album, and how do I make it good? What I'm going to tell you, do not make a deicide Serpents of the Light. Serpents of the Light is one of the worst things I've ever sat through, and it's not even because it's musically horrible. In fact, it's a perfectly fine album. In fact, it's a good C-tier passable death metal album. But coming from a band that literally made some of the greatest death metal of all time with the debut and Legion, seeing them kind of dip from Once Upon the Cross and seeing them go into Serpents of the Light was genuinely so irritating to me because nothing good happens in Serpents. It's all just same old deicide. The only song I can remotely remember from listening to it was Blame It On God, because it was kinda catchy and a little corny. I really don't like Serpents of the Light, I'm sorry. Okay. Bit more of a calmer take. I think Behemoth's best album is Pandemonic Incantations, and it's nowhere close. I feel like this is very personalized for me because objectively albums like The Satanist, Demigod, and even like The Apostasy and Dilemma 6 are miles ahead of Pandemonic Incantations, but I've always loved Pandemonic Incantations because it's the perfect blend of black metal and death metal and Behemoth sound to me, and it's just one of my favorites to go back to. It's one of my favorite death metal albums, one of my favorite black metal albums. It's the best Behemoth album. It's amazing. This next one, deathcore is so painfully same old. I have tried to like deathcore. I even like some deathcore bands, like early deathcore like Traumacide. I don't mess with much with like just samey, every band sound the same MySpace deathcore, but there are some deathcore bands I enjoy, like Black Tongue, Humanity's Last Breath, Rose Funeral is another one I do like on occasions. I like early Make Them Suffer. I do enjoy some deathcore sometimes, you know, don't hate on me too much. I'm holding this freaking lighter. I gotta stop fidgeting. Okay. I think modern deathcore relies too much on being Lorna Shore, and it lacks personality, and I've tried sitting down to listen to a deathcore album that's been released in the past 5 years, and I find nothing worth my time. I'm sorry. That one kind of went a little too far. I'm sorry if I'm going to get a little agitated during this video, but this is odd takes because I don't think I have hot takes, really. Next one. Prog metal is inferior to prog rock. I would say that progressive music is worse in its heavy forms. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some prog metal bands like Cynic, Atheist, that I love, but I don't like Dream Theater-like bands for the life of me. I enjoy stuff like Enslaved, progressive death, and even like progressive thrash metal like Cryptic Shift, or what I think that band was called. I listened to their album recently. I thought it was pretty good, you know, stuff like Voivod and later era death like Sound of Perseverance. I think those are fine pieces of progressive metal. But prog rock always outdoes it. Stuff like Walpurgis, that's a psychedelic rock band. Sorry. Stuff like, you know, Eloy, which is an underrated band. Dropped my bottle of cranberry juice. Stuff like Eloy is great and incredibly underrated, and I always pick it over some dumb prog metal. Next, Carcass Heartwork is so painfully mid, just like Servants of the Light, but yet it's praised as one of the best death metal albums ever. Carcass is death metal for people who don't like death metal. That's all I'm saying. I will say I think some of their songs on like Torn Arteries, Surgical Steel, not big into gore grind, but I would say there's moments on, what's that album called? Reek of Putrefaction. I would say stuff on that is fairly okay, but Carcass as a whole is not, I don't see the hype. Next, Immortal is the best freaking second wave black metal band when it comes to my enjoyment and their consistency. They never really had a dip in quality like how Mayhem did those like experimental albums, even though I really like stuff like Grand Declaration of War actually. There's bands like Dark Throne that did that like crust punk stuff, but to me, Immortal has always done Immortal so good. You can argue that they went to like epic black metal territory on At the Heart of Winter, but every Immortal album has that Immortal spirit, and they're so consistent, and every single album from them is at least 7 out of 10, or in my terms, I don't like ranking things based out of 10, at least like a 3.5 out of 5. Next, drone metal and funeral doom metal are not boring. I just said deathcore, one of the most like intenser genres in metal. I won't deny it's heavy, but it's boring. And I find drone metal like Boris, my favorite band ever, by the way. I'm gonna make a video about Boris soon, watch out for that. Boris, obviously Sun, but you have stuff like Bismuth, Bong. Bong is great. Psychedelic rock and doom metal, amazing. Listen to Bong. Droney too, by the way. So many good drone metal bands worth your time that I've put up on screen because I simply can't name it all because I'm unscripted. Oh, and for funeral doom, stuff like Skepticism, that band literally called like EA, I want to say it's like yeah, something like that, is amazing. Mournful Congregation is a classic for a reason. These are great bands and they're not boring to me. It's an odd take because it makes no sense. Next, Sadus, which is my favorite thrash metal band, should have never worked on paper if you think about it. Thrash metal is a genre where it's more traditional than anything else. It's a creaky old chair. More traditional than anything else, and it's kind of bland in comparison to other genres, but Sadus comes along and says, no, we're going to have the best metal bass player ever doing some absolute whatever on the fretless bass, and we're going to have these like progressive, like every measure, new time signature. This band sounds like it should suck, and it should sound like it's just rambling, but Sadus worked so much, and if you do not like Sadus, I question your validity to make cognitive decisions. Don't take that seriously. I know how some people are. Before we get to our final take, I'll mention the last metal one. Twisted Sister's a great band. Oh my god. A lot of people will say, stupid glam metal, blah blah blah, this, blah 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 blah, that. I just shook the camera with my hand movements. I would say that Twisted Sister is actually so freaking great at what they do because Stay Hungry is like a heavy metal album. Like Burn in Hell is the song I would show any serious metalhead getting into Twisted Sister because that song is so freaking good. But there's stuff like The Beast, SMF, amazing. And stuff Under the Blade is a great album to start with for any serious metalheads trying to understand Twisted Sister. I will say, albums like Some Moments on Come Out and Play and Love is for Suckers absolutely suck. And that Christmas album they did is fun. I literally listen to it every single year around Christmas. But it's stupid. It's objectively kind of a bad album. But hey, it's still a great album. Twisted Sister is actually so amazing, and I will never forget the first time I went to an open karaoke night. I sang We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock, and it was the funnest night of my life, I swear. Maybe not literally, I don't know yet. My last take is not a metal take, but it's still like a hard rock or in that vein of music that, well, that bridges the gap between heavy and non-heavy music. Hardcore. I don't like hardcore, and I think its whole resurgence is staying with all these basic bands that sound the absolute same and have the thing is, they have so clean production now, and it's like, it takes away all the hardcore energy of something like Minor Threat had, and actually did it good. But modern hardcore to me is just like, it's boring. I can put my headphones in, listen to a hardcore album, listen to 4 hardcore albums, and I will see no variation in the sound. And I know that sounds ignorant, and if any like hardcore fans are out there and want to like dox me right now, I'm sorry, but I mean, I like Ringworm. Does that get me somewhere? Ringworm. I always have a hard time saying that band name. Ringworm. Okay, we got it. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm in a very silly mood tonight, as you will find with I am on the rest of this channel. Thank you so much for staying with me for these 13 and a half minutes. Bye-bye.